Today I'm going to answer the questions that 3 of my curious viewers asked. Because my last video I suggested if you wanted, you could ask me some questions and I would answer them for you. And while we're answering questions, we're going to make a cinnamon supreme soap. And some of you are going to be like, cinnamon? But your skin will get irritated. When looking at the reviews of that cinnamon fragrance and reading the description of it, they make it very clear it's not going to irritate you. Goat milk. Isn't this a cute little jar? My mom gave me this jar. Mediterranean red clay. Isn't this a cute little jar? My mom gave me this jar. Kaolin clay. And sugar. So for the design, and turmeric, but I forgot it because I'm not in my kitchen right now, if you didn't notice. Turmeric's going to be in the soap as well. So we're going to have 2 natural colorants. I'm not exactly sure on my design at the moment. It's probably going to be an in the pot swirl. Well, let's get to making this soap and answering these curious questions. All of the oils I use are already here melted and combined in this bowl. If you're curious what oils I use, it's listed in the description. And here we're going to add our lye water. There's nothing special in the lye water, it's just strictly lye water. Question number 1, where did Boris get his name? I very first heard the name Boris from the actor Boris Karloff. Boris Karloff was the first Frankenstein. He also played the Mummy, and he had many other notable roles in the classic horror films. Recently, my husband has been reading a lot of books, and many of the books that he's read lately have been written by the Strugatsky brothers, one of the brothers being named Boris. I just think it's a cool name. And when I tell people his name, people are either like, oh, that's such a great name, or they're like, oh. Second question, how did you train him to ring the bell to go potty? It was actually pretty easy. Here we've got our kaolin clay, goat milk, sugar, and fragrance oil. So the way you train a dog to ring the bell to go outside is every time you take them outside, before you open that door, bump their nose or their paws against the bell that's hanging off the doorknob. Every time. Always do it. And eventually they'll figure out me touching that bell is going to open this door and I'm going to get to go outside. So as long as you're persistent, you can train your dog to ring the bell to go outside. Next question is, why is my soap shop called Nezumi Soaps and not Scotty Soaps? My soap shop is called Nezumi Soaps because of my love for rats. I really love all rodents, but rats in particular are very special to me. Majority of the time, rats do not get the credit they deserve. They are very smart, very sweet, very clean, very funny, special little pets. I have owned rats since I was around 12 years old, and before that I had the other typical rodents of like a gerbil and a hamster. But once I had rats, I will never go back to having gerbils or hamsters because rats are, without a doubt, without any competition, the best small pets to have. They're like miniature dogs or miniature cats. They want to be your friend. As long as you're good to them, they are good to you. Where my experience with gerbils is they are literally just a pet. They have no interest in being your friend. Now there's always an exception. Always. There will always be an exception to every story and every rule. But in my experience, both gerbils and hamsters just existed as my pets for me to have fun with, but not be friends with. Where with rats, they are perfectly happy coming to visit me and hang out. I trust them to let them loose, not on the floor, but loose on top of their cage. Here we have our turmeric, dispersed in water and oil. Basically, rats have been my friends since I very first owned rats. Look at how dark this turmeric gets. And my soap shop is named Nezumi Soaps because rat soaps would most likely deter every English-speaking human from buying my soaps. Why did I pick the word Nezumi? Because I like the Japanese language and I am trying to learn the Japanese language. And Nezumi is Japanese for rat. I did not name my soap shop Scotty Soaps because I started making soap when I did not have a Scotty. And I hadn't had a Scotty for 7 years. So even though Scottish Terriers are one of my favorite dog breeds, it just didn't cross my mind because I just hadn't had a Scotty for so long. And I didn't think I was gonna get one until we got a house with a yard, because I currently live in a condo, and I didn't think I was gonna get a dog, but Boris was a special little gift that was very unexpected. But I had my rats the entire time I've lived here in this condo, and they have been my friends the entire time. And because I love my rats so much, I named my soap shop after them. Here we have our Mediterranean red clay. It sure is looking like this fragrance oil is a well-behaved one. Next question. Do you like cats? Yes, I do. I like cats very much. I do not own a cat. In the future, I may. If a cat comes along and needs a home, then I will take in that cat. I've grown up with always having a cat in the house. One of my favorite wild animals is the tiger. I love all the big cats, but tigers have always been one of my favorites, and I even have decorations around the house of tigers. Next question, what are you crocheting lately? Well, to be honest, I'm not crocheting anything right now. I'm not sure what to make. I would absolutely be crocheting right now if I knew what to make, but I don't know what to make. If you have any grand ideas of what I should be crocheting, I might consider it. I have so much yarn in a container under my bed, it's ridiculous, but I don't know what to make at the moment. And then the next question kind of made me laugh. It's, do you watch modern movies or only the ones you can find on VHS? I thought that question was funny because I know maybe I seem like I don't watch modern movies because the ones I talk about are usually no newer than the 90s, I guess. I don't know. I do watch modern movies as well if it looks interesting to me. The last modern movie I saw in theaters was The Green Knight, which was an interesting movie. I typically lean towards the older films because I think that film was better back then. That doesn't mean that there aren't good movies today. There are. As I said earlier, there's an exception to every rule. There are still good directors out there. There are still people making movies with their heart and not their pocketbook. Just that a lot of movies that come out are just for making money, and they do make money. And so they're just kind of crummy movies. But that's just my opinion, you know. We've all got an opinion over here. Those 6 questions were asked by my good friend Steph. Now, the next set of questions. How do you like the way the clays work in your soap? I think clays are wonderful. Actually, the very first soap that I ever used with clay in it was from the wonderful person who wrote this question, Renee. And I just loved it. I loved how it felt. And the way they perform in soap, I don't have any problems with it, but I love it. There's Kaolin Clay in this soap right here. And I love the different types of clays. It's so neat that there's different colors. Next, she asked, have you been looking for some new and interesting additives? Always. And I have some. I just haven't made a soap to introduce them yet. Even though it's debatable whether or not certain additives even do anything in your soap, it's really fun to add interesting ingredients to your soap. It's fun to write them on the label and say, there is turmeric in this soap. And then the final question Renee asks is, how do Boris and the rats get along? Well, they don't not get along, but they don't interact with each other enough to say, oh, they're good buddies or anything like that. Boris likes to watch them in the cage, but with them interacting face to face, Boris has no interest because he's kind of scared of him. My rats are not scared of Boris, which is interesting. I don't think they see him as a threat at the moment. Now my final curious viewer is Laura with Cabbage Patch Soaps. Her first question is, why did I start making soap? It was pretty much an accident. I stumbled across a soaper on YouTube and I was like, I could do that. And so I tried it. I did all the research and tried it and I ended up loving it. Her next question is, where do I get my inspiration? I don't know. Sometimes I don't have any inspiration and I still make a batch of soap, and usually those are all a mistake. The places that I should be getting my inspiration, or sometimes I do for collaborations and stuff, is things that I'm interested in. Movies, or books, or video games, or something that I experience outside, something from the past, one of my pets, things like that. Pretty much anything, absolutely anything could inspire you or me if I just take the time to listen, I guess. Laura's next question is, what are the pros and cons, in my opinion, of making soap? For me, the pros are the final product. Being able to have some soap that you created with your hands and your mind is a wonderful feeling. It's really exciting to cut that soap. It does encourage you to use your brain, to have a hobby that encourages critical thinking skills. The cons of making soap, when things just don't turn out right. Also, I don't actually enjoy preparing soap. I don't like getting the lye water ready. I don't like weighing out the oils. I don't enjoy the cleanup. And all those things take up more time than the actual act of making soap. So I think that's my cons for soap making. And then Laura's final question is, what are my favorite oils and why? I like coconut oil. It seems to make an actual difference in the behavior of your soap. And I like olive oil. It also seems to be a very nice oil to have in your soap. The second reason why I like those two so much is because you can get them at the store. You don't have to special order them like you do with cocoa butter and shea butter. And I also really like the controversial Lard because it is very cheap and it makes a very good bar of soap. Despite what anyone else thinks or says about it, it makes a very nice soap. Rather than having that lard go to waste, I think making soap out of it is one of the best things to do. So that was all 13 questions. Thank you so much for asking those questions. It's good to know that the cinnamon fragrance oil does not accelerate. Look at that. So we'll see you for the cut. Next day, of course. Here we go. Well, goodness, this looks like a mess right here. So guess how much vanillin this soap has in it? 0%. Well, you know, I could kind of see cinnamon swirls in there. I kind of wanted to call it cinnamon swirls. There we go. We got something interesting here. You know, this kind of looks like Mars. Thank you so much to Steph, Renee, and Laura for asking me so many great questions. This is a very interesting looking bar. If you three have any more questions, feel free to ask. And also, if anyone else had any questions sparked in their mind while I was answering the other ones, please feel free to ask. I probably should have run a hanger through this to maybe get some spiky swirls, because this is some chunky looking rounded swirls. But I am not disappointed. This looks like a congee. We're having a windy, chilly day today. Very, very fall feeling out there. And I love it. It's my favorite sweatshirt weather. Cloudy and chilly. So just a day has gone by, but I don't expect anything to change because there is no vanillin. Maybe the turmeric will lighten up, maybe. Side stamped because it's my favorite and you can't do it upside down on accident. The fragrance is very cinnamon. When I was making the soap, it wasn't that strong, but now that it's in the soap, it's very strong. But it's in a good way. People who like cinnamon want it to smell like cinnamon, and this is a very true cinnamon fragrance. I like it very much. It's very festive for this time of year. So let me know if you have any questions. I'd be curious to know what you're curious about.